It's funny. People spend their whole lives waiting for a sign, a miracle, a voice from above whispering, now this is it, move. But most of the time, they ignore it. They're too busy sipping their coffee, stuck in traffic, clinging to their calendars like it all means something. But what happens when that voice doesn't whisper anymore? What happens when it screams? Comfort, oh comfort. It's like a warm little cell with soft walls and no windows. You don't even realize you're trapped because everything's so nice. People love that word nice. They crave routine, repetition. The same breakfast, the same route, the same lifeless conversations with the same dead-eyed people. But inside they're screaming. They're just too scared to make a sound. See, comfort's clever. It doesn't punch you in the face. No, it whispers in your ear. Tells you you're doing fine, that you deserve to rest, that you've done enough, and you believe it because it feels good. You cling to it like a child to a blanket, afraid of the cold world outside. But let me ask you this, when's the last time comfort gave you something real? People say they want change, but they don't want the part that hurts. They want growth without the growing pains. They want success without sacrifice. So what do? They stay where it's safe. They build little forts out of excuses. Now's not the right time, I'll start next week. What if I fail? That last one's a classic. What if, like a broken record stuck in a loop of fear. And while they're busy tiptoeing through life, life's already kicked down the door and moved on. Comfort doesn't just slow you down, it sedates you. It drugs you into believing that this mediocre existence is all you're ever gonna get. And you smile through it. You fake your joy. You post your little pictures and type your little captions. But deep down, you know, there's more. There's something waiting. But getting to it, that means leaving the warm, quiet corner. That means walking into the unknown. And most people, they'd rather die in their sleep than wake up and feel anything real. They build routines like prison bars, 9 to 5, paycheck to paycheck, weekend to weekend. And they decorate the cell, new car, new phone, new distractions. Just enough noise to drown out the voice inside that's screaming at them. But it never really goes away, does it? That itch, that pull, that burning little thought that says, you were meant for more. You can dress it up, you can bury it under 1,000 distractions, but it keeps coming back. It's the one thing they can't kill with comfort, and oh, how they try. They stuff themselves with food, with screens, with fake love and empty victories. They tell themselves it's happiness, but happiness doesn't feel like that tightness in your chest. It doesn't feel like looking in the mirror and not recognizing your own eyes. That's not peace. That's quiet despair. That's the price you pay for choosing the easy path over the right one. You ever watch someone fall apart in slow motion? It's not loud. It's not dramatic, it's a slow fade. A little bit less fire each day. A little more silence. They stop dreaming. Stop daring. They shrink. They disappear, even while they're still breathing. That's what comfort does. It doesn't kill you quickly. It rots you from the inside out. And by the time you notice, there's barely anything left to save. They think emergencies come with sirens and flashing lights. But sometimes the real emergency is that nothing's happening at all. No motion. No noise. Just stillness, that's the danger. When life stops challenging you, that's not peace, it's a trap. And most people, they walk right into it, smiling. People, oh people, they never listen when you whisper. You tell them softly, get up, move. Do something, and they nod, smile, pretend they heard you. But they didn't. Not really, because the voice was too calm, too polite. See, they only tune in when something breaks. When the glass shatters, when the blood's on the floor. That's when they look up. That's when they care. You ever notice that? They walk past fires every day, but until the flames lick their front door, they won't even blink. They need the drama. the chaos, the panic. That's when their hearts start racing. That's when they finally feel something. Because boredom, oh, that's a slow death. But fear wakes them up. Suddenly the lights are on. The eyes are wide. And now they're listening. Now it's important. Now it matters. And isn't that just delicious? That we wait for things to fall apart to finally take action. You tell someone they're wasting time, they shrug. You tell them they're safe, stuck stagnant, they laugh. But tell them they're out of time. Tell them it's an emergency. Oh, now you've got their attention. Now they care. Because nothing screams louder than consequences. They want a kick, a slap, a jolt to the system. That's the only language they speak. Subtly as a joke to them. They need the roof to cave in before they even think of moving. And even then, half of them still won't. They'll stand in the rubble, staring at the damage, mumbling, I didn't see this coming. Oh, but it was coming. It was always coming. They just didn't want to hear it when the warning was soft. It's funny how pain becomes the best teacher, not love, not wisdom, pain. Because people don't act unless they're forced to, not nudge forced. You think the strongest decisions are made in calm moments? No. They're made when there's smoke in the air and glass underfoot. When there's no other option, that's when they finally break the pattern. Because desperation, that's more powerful than motivation ever was. And they lie to themselves. That's the best part. They say, I'm waiting for the right time. No, sweetheart. You're waiting for the disaster. You're waiting for the storm to knock on your door and drag you out. You're waiting to be scared enough to finally care. And deep down, you know it. You know it. You just don't want to admit that you need chaos to move your feet. They like to feel like victims of circumstance. Makes it easier to explain the years they lost, the chances they missed. Blame the system. Blame the timing. Blame everyone but the mirror. Because the truth is they saw the fire long before it reached them. But it wasn't big enough yet. It didn't burn enough, so they turned away and waited until the heat kissed their skin. Then they screamed, you want to see action? Put pressure, real pressure. Back someone into a corner and suddenly they're capable of things they never imagined. Not because they grew wings, but because there's nowhere left to hide. You think bravery is born from comfort. No, it's born from crisis. It's born from that second when everything is at stake and there's no time to overthink. That's when instincts take over. That's when the masks drop. That's when the truth shows. People don't want calm. They crave a reason to react. They need something to shake them, rattle them, toss them upside down. Because as long as the world is quiet, they can pretend. Pretend they're okay. Pretend they're trying. But when the alarm goes off, when the floor cracks open, that's when the pretending stops. And what's hilarious is they wait for those moments. They crave them. Because deep down they don't trust themselves to act without them. They don't believe they can leap without being pushed, so they sabotage. They procrastinate. They flirt with disaster, hoping, praying, begging for something big enough to finally give them the courage they won't give themselves. Because people don't respond to whispers. They respond to screams. The signs are everywhere. But no one sees them, or maybe they do, they just pretend not to. It's easier that way. Squint a little, turn your head, scroll a bit faster, and poof, problem gone. See, the world isn't short on warnings. It's short on willingness to listen. People aren't blind. No, they're just selectively blind. They see what they want to see. And anything that threatens the little bubble they built, that gets ignored. You ever hear someone say, I just need a sign? Yeah, that's a favorite. As if the universe owes them a billboard with flashing lights and a personalized message saying, hey, you wake up, but when? That sign actually shows up, it's too subtle, too inconvenient, too real. So they look the other way and say, maybe that wasn't it. Of course it was. But admitting that would mean they'd have to do something. And we can't have that now, can we? People don't miss signs because they aren't there. They miss them because signs usually come dressed as discomfort, as failure, as heartbreak. And who wants to open that box? Who wants to unwrap that lovely little package full of pain and truth? Nobody. They'd rather chase fairy dust than face the fact that the warning was delivered through a breakdown, a lost job, a bad relationship. That was the signal. That was the siren. But it didn't come the way they wanted, so they tossed it aside like trash. See, the truth, it doesn't knock politely. It sneaks in, whispers in your ear while you sleep. It drops hints. A missed opportunity here, a nagging feeling there, that tension in your chest. That boredom you can't shake, that's the sign. But they want something cleaner, something shinier. Something they can post about with hashtags. The real signs, oh, they're messy. They're ugly. They hurt. And that's why people pretend they're not signs at all. They say, I'll know when it's time. No, you won't. You already do, you're just scared. That's the real trick. Fear makes people dumb. Not the kind of dumb you can see. The clever kind. The kind where they talk themselves into staying stuck. They rationalize the rot. They decorate the decay. And all the while the signs keep coming louder, sharper. Until one day crash, everything breaks. And what do they say? Why didn't I see it coming? Oh, but you did. You just didn't want to. You think a sign's gonna wait around forever? Nah, life moves fast, brutal, relentless. You ignore it too long and it stops knocking. It kicks the door in. And by then, it's not a sign anymore. It's a consequence. A beautiful, violent reminder that you had your chance and you chose comfort. You chose fear. You chose to look away. And now it's too late to choose anything. Now it's just damage control. The signs are always there, always. They show up in silence, in stillness, in that little whisper you keep drowning out with noise. But you turn up the music, scroll faster, laugh louder, just to keep from hearing it. That voice that says, this isn't it. That feeling in your gut when something's off. That flicker of regret when you lie in bed and think about everything you could have done. That's the sign. That's the call. But you keep pressing snooze over and over until one day the alarm doesn't go off at all. People wait for permission, for confirmation, for some grand cosmic thumbs up. But life doesn't send invitations. It throws you in the fire and watches what you do. And when the smoke clears, you either stepped up or you didn't. And no one cares about the excuses. The signs were there, you just chose not to look. You want a miracle? A message? It already came. It came when you felt empty. When you were stuck. When you knew deep down that this wasn't the life you were meant to live. That moment when the truth hit you like a brick, but instead of standing up, you looked down. Pretended it was just a passing thought. A bad day. A glitch in the system. But it wasn't. It was the signal. It was the chance. And you missed it with your eyes wide open, doubt. The sneaky little demon that creeps into your mind and sets up camp without asking. It's not loud. It doesn't scream or shout. No, it's a quiet whisper that poisons every thought, every decision. Are you sure? What if you fail? Maybe you're not ready. And just like that, the fire inside you flickers, hesitates, then almost dies. Doubt isn't just a feeling, it's a thief. A silent assassin that steals your momentum while you're busy second-guessing yourself. You ever notice how doubt loves to disguise itself as logic? Suddenly it's not your enemy, it's your best friend. It's that voice that says, let's be realistic. Don't get your hopes up. Maybe wait a little longer. The sweet poison of caution. Because who wants to risk being wrong? Who wants to face the embarrassment, the pain, the judgment? So doubt wraps itself in reason and convinces you to stay put, to play small, to settle for less. But here's the thing, doubt doesn't care about your dreams. It doesn't care about your passion or your purpose. It doesn't care that you have a fire burning inside, screaming to break free. It's a parasite that feeds on fear, insecurity, and the comfort of the familiar. And the more you listen to it, the louder it gets, until your own voice, your real voice, is drowned out completely. Think about it. How many opportunities have slipped through your fingers because doubt stopped you dead in your tracks? How many times have you stood at the edge ready to leap, only to pull back because your mind whispered, "What if you fall?" That's doubt working its magic. It paralyzes you with what ifs until you forget why you wanted to jump in the first place. Doubt doesn't just kill momentum, it suffocates hope. It makes you question your worth, your ability, your sanity even. It makes the mountain ahead look bigger, scarier, impossible to climb. It wraps the world in a fog so thick you can't see the path forward. And while you stumble around in the dark, it laughs because it knows you're trapped by your own mind. Here's the cruel irony, doubt feels safer than action. It's easier to stay stuck than to risk everything on a shot in the dark. It's easier to dream from the sidelines than to get into the game and get your hands dirty. So, you bargain with it. You tell yourself, "I'll try tomorrow. I'm just not ready yet. Maybe next time." And tomorrow turns into next week, next month, next year, until the dream withdraws away, forgotten and abandoned. But doubt doesn't stop there. It feeds on regret too. After you miss the chance, after the moment passes, it slithers in and whispers even louder, "I told you so. See? You weren't good enough. You missed your shot." And suddenly the pain of inaction stings worse than the fear ever did. You become your own worst enemy, trapped in a cycle where doubt wins again and again. And the worst part, doubt is contagious. It spreads like a virus from the outside world into your head. From the voices of critics, naysayers, the realists who tell you why you can't. You soak it up like poison, letting it seep into your bones until it feels like part of you. You start doubting the things you once believed in. Goals that once set your soul on fire. You shrink to fit the doubts of others because it feels safer than standing alone. But here's a secret that most don't want you to know. Doubt is just a story. A lie you tell yourself over and over until you believe it. It's not truth. It's not fact. It's fear wearing a mask, and fear loves to pretend it's protecting you. But really it's just keeping you locked in a cage of your own making. A cage where nothing grows, nothing changes, nothing alive happens. You can fight doubt, you can silence it. But it takes guts. It takes stubbornness. It takes looking that little voice in the eye and saying, "Not today." It means moving forward even when you're scared, even when your mind screams to stop. It means stepping into the unknown and trusting yourself more than the fear inside you. Doubt doesn't get to write your story. Not unless you hand it the pen. And most people, they do. They hand over the power, the control, to that whispering shadow until there's nothing left but ashes and what ifs. But you don't have to. You can take it back. You can light that fire again and watch doubt burn in the flames of your own fierce will. Urgency. That's the word. The universe doesn't negotiate. It doesn't wait politely. It doesn't send a text saying, "Hey, whenever you're ready." No. It slams its fist on the table, shakes you by the collar, and shouts, "Now. Move, or else." Because urgency isn't just a feeling, it's a demand. A brutal, unrelenting push that tells you to drop everything and act. No excuses. No delays. Just go. You see, urgency is the language the world speaks when it's tired of being ignored. When the whispers turn into roars and the gentle taps become blows. It's not subtle. It doesn't care about your comfort or your plans. It crashes through your neat little life like a storm, tearing apart the illusions you've wrapped yourself in. And if you're smart, you listen. You feel that fire and you move with it. Because if you don't, it moves on without you. Most people are allergic to urgency. They hate the pressure. They crave the slow burn of gradual change, the kind where you can plan, prepare, hesitate. But the truth is, life doesn't always give you that luxury. Sometimes the clock's hands are racing toward midnight and you're still fumbling with the lock. Sometimes the emergency lights are flashing in your face and you're still hitting snooze. And that's when everything falls apart. Urgency is a test. A brutal, unforgiving test to see who's paying attention and who's asleep at the wheel. It separates the dreamers from the doers, the talkers from the movers. Because when the world yells open this now, it doesn't care about your excuses, your doubts, or your fears. It only cares if you act fast or get left behind. It's funny how emergencies strip everything away. The noise, the distractions, the bullshit, it all falls away. You don't have time to wonder if you're ready. You don't get to ask for a sign. You don't get to debate your worth. You just have to open that door, step through it, and face whatever's waiting. Because the alternative, ignoring the call, means letting everything crumble around you. And no one wants to be the one who did nothing. People say they thrive under pressure, but most freeze. Their brains short-circuit. Their legs won't move. They wish for a pause button, a reset, a miracle. But urgency doesn't come with a pause button. It's a runaway train and you're either on board or under the tracks. There's no middle ground. And yet there's something beautiful in that madness, in that chaos. Because urgency forces clarity. It cuts through the fog of indecision and fear and hesitation. It shines a brutal spotlight on what matters most. It makes you choose. It forces you to strip away everything that doesn't serve you, to focus on the one thing that can save you. Urgency demands courage, not the flashy kind that looks good on Instagram. The raw, messy, gut-wrenching kind that makes your heart pound and your hands shake. The kind that says, I don't have time to be perfect, I just have to be real. Because in the face of an emergency, there's no time for masks or lies. There's only truth. Your truth. And here's the kicker, urgency is not just external. Sometimes it's the voice inside you screaming louder than anything else. That gut feeling that something's off. That restless itch you can't scratch. That nagging sense that if you don't act now, it will be too late. But most people, they silence that voice. They tell themselves not yet, soon. And soon turns into never. Urgency is the universe's way of saying, wake the hell up. It's the spark before the explosion, the warning. Before the collapse, the moment before the fall. It's relentless because it knows what's at stake. And it doesn't care how scared you are. Because urgency isn't about fear, it's about survival. About seizing the moment before it slips away forever. People are afraid of urgency because it strips away control. It forces you out of your comfort zone and into the wild unknown. It demands action without guarantees. And that's terrifying, but the alternative, staying frozen, stuck, waiting for a sign that might never come, watching your life slip through your fingers while you hesitate. Urgency is a cruel teacher, but a necessary one. It reminds you that time is a thief, stealing moments faster than you can catch them. That opportunities don't wait for the perfect moment because the perfect moment doesn't exist. That sometimes you have to leap before you're ready. Because if you wait too long, there won't be anything left to save.